What skills could you offer in an apocalypse? I can look after animals. I can be used as a bad example. Bait. I could play Bach's toccata and fugue in D minor on the organ as the doom approached. I know a lot of pointless information from listening to educational podcasts, could be useful one day. I'm also an okay cook when options are limited. Gimme a challenge to make something tasty out of slim pickings and I think I'd do alright, smiley face. Paramedic, so basically an apocalypse doctor. I can fix a car, wire up solar panels and batteries, do some carpentry, and I'm a pretty good shot. But, I live in a city, so in just about any apocalyptic situation I'll probably die pretty quickly. I don't know if this counts as a skill, but I can really bring down the morale of others around me and make people splinter off into factions when they should be working together. I could also sabotage efforts to overcome obstacles through starting infighting by hiding food and pouring out water supplies to create unnecessary conflict. I am studying computer science, so fluff me, I guess. I was an auto mechanic for 10 years. I can weld and I am a licensed gunsmith. I'm a bitch crafter by hobby, working on getting into competition shooting, and I've taken first aid courses. I've worked as a mechanic and a plumber, but I'm also trained in electronics repairs and basic house wiring. I'm a pretty decent carpenter and I've remodeled several houses for friends. I can set up and maintain a powered and plumbed compound with scavenged materials and several assistants. I should also think that improvising defenses and weapons would fall into my wheelhouse. I can cook pretty decently, and also being anxious about every small issue which results in hours of crying, not sure if that would be a good trade-off. I can count till 7 and I can also eat toilet paper as a reliable food source. Sucking slong if it came to it. Self-defense and basic wilderness survival, also how to harvest nuclear parts out of everyday items. To offer burial services and guarding the graves of the deceased with a fully loaded holy pistol. I am a former EMT who now works in the and in my downtime I watch a lot of survivalist shows. I also watch those dudes make pools in the jungle, so I can totally do all of that. I'm a forensic entomologist. While decomposing cadavers cannot be used to implicate criminals anymore, I imagine my skills would be instrumental in food production and distinguishing between arable land and pasturable land imbued with plants conducive for insect population resurgences. I'd work concurrently with farmers to establish and cultivate any viable insects to fertilize crops to augment the sustainability of our food supplies. Therapy. You're all gonna need it. I have the special ability of making food disappear before it goes bad, that way nobody gets sick and will never accidentally eat anything after it spoils. You're welcome. I can grow stuff, and weed. I can sew and I'm good with an arrow from years of practice. Edit. Forgot to mention I can scale and gut fish in open water and butcher small animals like chickens and squirrels. I could provide the useful skill of talking about the now non-existent video games and provide all their lore. I know the lore of a couple of games better than an average Joe. I have a really green thumb. I can grow almost anything and make anything almost edible. I can also keep the garden maintained without having to leave the safety of the place I am staying. For example, mixing rainwater with garlic in a spray bottle is a natural pesticide, as bugs hate garlic. If you have access to milk, it removes mildew off of plants. If you are in a drier area and need to conserve water, grow cacti. Almost all cacti fruit are edible, and can be peeled and eaten, or used for water, although, most cacti stalks are harmful. If you are in a wet place, you can grow aquatic plants. If you're not too excited to eat an aquatic plant, you can use it to attract wildlife by offering a potential habitat. Then eat the wildlife. Don't wanna make this too long, but all gardening should be self-sustainable. You shouldn't need outside help or new products every time you want to restart a garden. Edit. Clarification on what parts of cacti are safe. I know how to wash clothes in a river without soap. Everybody needs that guy who's really great at making amazing sounding plans but is extremely incompetent at executing those plans, right? And I also know how to shoot a gun and use a bow, as well as a couple other survival skills like whittling, so I guess I've got something beyond sarcasm and self-depreciating humor. I'm a nurse, midwife, with skills in emergency medicine and surgery. I also have knitting, sewing and crochet skills, plus have several properties with lots of land, but when push comes to shove, who cares whose name is on the title deed? I have a really cool family. My husband is very hard working and has medical skills as well. My brother is a doctor who has his own plane and a good hunter. My father is super smart, and he is skilled at fixing and making things with wood and metal. My sister and mother are really good at cooking and organizing. My Bill has security skills and computer it skills. My Sil has skills in pathology. All up we would probably do okay together or be useful to a community. Let me just say, I love this question. It makes people think about their good qualities and what they could do to help. I'm good at maths and science, so I'd be able to aid in research. Additionally, when it comes to emergency situations, I'm good at keeping a cool head and getting things done. I'd definitely be more behind the scenes than actually going out foraging, defense etc., but I could help out smiley face. I have some survivalist skills, can make shelters. Brew some mead if we find supplies. I have a Leatherman tool. I can shoot a bow decently, won regional championships, and study several languages, but I DK the use of that. I'm not a doctor, engineer, or expert survivalist. I barely even know first aid. The only thing I realistically think I could offer is to be a long-distance foot messenger. I run ultra-marathons, and assuming all telecoms are down, I might be your best hope of sending vital information where it needs to be. I'm a happy fun-time worker and have a lot of masseuse experience, so I guess I could relieve mental and physical stress. I also have a decent understanding of programming and general electronics. I think I'd do pretty well in a zombie apocalypse. I worked on yachts for about 10 years, sailing, teaching sailing, and doing fiberglass repairs. I have also been a bike mechanic and biked from Mexico to Canada on dirt roads along the Rockies. This involved a lot of endurance and long, grueling days eating not especially appetizing food and living in a tent. These aside, I'm generally pretty handy, and can do a little bit of electrical work. I also can get by in Spanish and am learning French. Between green transportation, less desirable than internal combustion, but valuable skills nonetheless, language, and experiences, I think I'd do pretty well in a survivalist scenario. All that being said, I don't do well with large amounts of blood. Deleted. I am pretty good with herbs. I can shoe a horse. Also, I'm a fluffing awesome cowboy. Moral support, and I can make a drink, brew beer and ginger beer. Rapier wit and well-timed sarcasm. First aid. I'd run the best apocalypse bar in town. I could serve as bait to get food. I can play video games. Sorry, I missed the last part of the question. Yeah, I'm useless here. I can make a sink bong with a milk jug. And a sink. And I need a bong. I can shoot stuff. I guessed it, NVM surviving, because with an apocalypse there is 100% of a failure from the military, and I'm in the military and therefore I'd probably die in that first part. Emergency meet. I'll try my best to be a doctor. I'll be Z 2.0. I can probably get some small networks and communication going again with my CS degree, so that might be helpful. Also, last night I learned how to make a bong out of an apple. I can make a mean mac and cheese. I could occasionally make everyone laugh, and I can brew a mean cup of coffee, so if anyone has coffee, I'd be glad to brew some up on a fire. I could beat a grown man to death with my bare hands. I'm still a lover more than a fighter, but I also don't do those weights for nothing. Hunting and tracking. I have a degree in medical lab science and am still a certified tech, so I can draw blood and other body fluids. I can operate the analyzers, fix them when they don't work, and if all else fails I can do the tests manually. I can interpret the results too. So yeah, pretty handy, I'd wager. You're gonna need doctors and nurses and surgeons and garbage for sure. But wouldn't hurt to have some scientists and lab dudes around. I can make gasoline from corn, also generally knowledgeable about plumbing and building. I can roll a quarter across my knuckles. Moral encouragement. I am just suicidal enough to jump into a horde with a bomb. Crochet. You'd all come crawling to me for blankets and hats when that nuclear winter hits. I can turn trash into treasure. Self-deprecating humor. I'm an engineer where I specialized in water technology, so I know how to purify and treat drinking and water. Also, I'm currently doing a PhD in organic chemistry, so I'm also pretty good with pharmaceuticals. I'm an expert marksman, a skilled thief, and genetic biologist in training. I could shoot the Zeds, sneak in and nab supplies, and reinvent certain medicines in the event they were lost or run out. I can make knives and related items from scrap metal. A skill that not even 99% of these people can offer is my vast intellectual prowess. As an intellectual, I can solve any problem at the speed of light. You see, being born with knowledge of quantum physics is one of many intellectual requirements to be a prodigy in the sciences and only in the sciences. And #X200B throws intellectually advanced fedora at boar, slices it in half, fully cooked, and seasoned, and #X200B, miladies and gents, tips fedora. Remember that game in school where one person would be a shark and everyone else would be fish and would have to run the length of the gym without getting eaten, tagged? I was undefeated through 12 years.